Welcome back to On Air B&B Football with Bryce. Today, coming at you with the 12 and 12 going into week 6. But before I get into the video, please make sure to like, subscribe, share with everybody you know, do all that good stuff for us, and then just please help me and Brandon reach our goal of this channel to talk to you, the fans, talk to the players, talk to the coaches, get to some stadiums, whether it's college or NFL. Can't do that without your all's help of hitting that subscribe button, hitting that like button, doing that good stuff like I just said. But with that being said, let's get into the 12 and 12. So, couple teams that were undefeated went down this week. We had Ole Miss lose to Kentucky, we had Georgia lose to Bama, and we had Utah losing to Arizona. So, this is going to look a little bit different this week, but let's go to number 12. Number 12 for me is USC. So USC had a good win against Wisconsin this week, winning 38-21. USC took care of them this past week. They got Minnesota. So Minnesota just had a tough game against Michigan, who Michigan beat USC a few weeks ago. But Minnesota is, they started off really bad. They started off as a really bad team this year. Minnesota is a pretty decent program usually every season, and they're starting to turn it around a little bit now, I think. But they have Minnesota at Minnesota this week. I'm looking for it to be a little bit of a test for USC. It could be a close game. USC is a better team, but I think they'll have a little test against Minnesota before they have a game against Penn State next week. So, I like USC at 12 right now. Going to 11. The team that beat them a few weeks ago. At 11, we have Michigan, who played Minnesota this past week, winning 27-24. They were dominating most of the game, and then Minnesota decided to come back and make it a game. But Alex Orty was asked to throw the ball a little bit more this game, 10 for 18, only 86 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. But they are doing great running the ball. Mulligans is the feature. He's not the featured back, but he's getting a lot of the workload. He had 24 carries, 111 yards, 2 touchdowns. Him and Donovan Edwards back there could be a great duo for the rest of the season. That's what they're going to have to lean on with Alex Orty not being able to throw the ball. But Michigan is getting back to what they do, and that's running the football. So that's what they're doing, and it's working so far. But Michigan finally goes on the road this season. They have not played a away game yet this season. They travel to Washington this week. First time going on the road this season. Washington isn't the team they were last year, of course, but I look for them to roll and against Washington this week. Notre Dame. So I had Notre Dame at 12 last week. They are going to move up my list a little bit for me. I think that game against Northern Illinois was a fluke. It definitely was. You can think about what you want, but they had Louisville this week, who's a great team, dominated most of the game. Riley Leonard is, he's a very good dual threat quarterback. He hasn't been throwing the ball, a ton, but it's been efficient. It's been good enough for them to win, and then he's running the ball very, very well. He's running the ball a lot, actually. I think he has over 300 yards the past 3 weeks rushing, 52 yards and a touchdown this week on 13 carries, but had 163 and 2 touchdowns in the air. But the defense is a little iffy with Notre Dame. We're gonna have to see how they progress throughout the season. But the offense is looking good. They're running the ball good. Beat a good Louisville team. They are on a bye this week, and then they have Stanford at home coming out of that. But I like Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame is underrated right now because of that loss, and which they should be. Losing Northern Illinois at home, is not something to take not something that you can just blow over. But like I said, I think it's a fluke. They're definitely going to be in the top 12 and a playoff team. At 9, Missouri. So Missouri was on a bye this week after that scary, barely overtime win against Vanderbilt. They come out, play Texas A&M this week at Texas A&M. Kyle Field is going to be rocking, but it hasn't felt like it's been too hard to win at Kyle Field lately for opposing teams. Texas A&M is still a good team, but they aren't a top premier team, and they haven't been for a little bit now. They're ranked 25 in the country right now for FBS, but I like Missouri in this game. I think they're going to come in, take care of business. Had that scary win against Vanderbilt. I think they come in to Texas A&M into Kyle Field and take care of business this week. At 8, got Miami. So Miami barely won against Virginia Tech this week. You can take that Hail Mary pass how you want. Was it a touchdown? Was it not a touchdown? So Miami have a loss. Should they? They are undefeated, but yeah, it was a interesting call. I don't even know how I feel about it, honestly. It looked like a touchdown, but it was called, of course, not. But Miami stays undefeated with that. It was scary. Cameron Ward's still playing good ball. They know that defense is shaky against a decent team in Virginia Tech. So, and then they got Cal this week. So at Cal, at Berkeley. So Miami's got them. It's gonna be interesting to see them play a good Cal team this year. Cal is playing good ball. So I think Miami can take care of business there, but we'll see after they struggled against Virginia Tech. Number 7, Penn State. So Penn State had Illinois at Happy Valley, was 7-7 at halftime. Illinois went down the field on the first drive of the game, scored a touchdown, didn't score after that. They had a drive in the red zone at the 2-yard line. The ball ended up on like the 30 or 40-yard line after a fumble, after some penalties, all that stuff, and then they missed a field goal there before halftime. But Penn State had a shutout in the second half. Great second half team, running the ball really efficiently. The other one on the ground, Drew Aller isn't being asked to do too much unless he's needed to, but he's making some big throws down the stretch. I really like what he's doing. He's looking really good. They have UCLA this week. It should be UCLA is not good this year. It should be a dominant win for Penn State this week. But yeah, I like them at 7. Number 6, it's got to be Georgia. I still think Georgia is a great team this year. They're still, of course, going to be in the playoffs. Do you have a game against Texas coming up in a few weeks? So that could be, if Texas is fully healthy, everything's looking good, that could be a 2-loss Georgia team. It could be. I still think they could probably still sneak into the playoffs. But if some of these teams only lose one game, then you're going to have some controversy, in a 12-team playoff. But Bama Georgia was an amazing game, 41-34. Bama came out on top. Carson Beck played a terrible first half. He didn't look like a top NFL prospect whatsoever in the first half of that game. He looked awful. He had 4 turnovers on the day, 3 interceptions, 1 fumble. He looked terrible in the first half. In the second half, though, he picked it up. Over 400 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. It had a great second half comeback. Just an overall great game. But one of them has a drop, like I said in the previous video, and it was Georgia. So, Georgia at 6 for now. 5 is going to go Oregon. So I'm going to keep Oregon above Georgia for now, just because Oregon's undefeated. Oregon has Michigan State this week at home. I look for them to keep rolling before the big game against Ohio State. It is at Oregon this year, but Oregon is going to go to 5 for me. Is going to be a little bit above Georgia, like I said, because they're undefeated still. I just need to see more big play abilities from that offense. I need to see that defense step up a little bit more against good teams. It'll definitely be tested against Ohio State next week. But Dylan Gabriel's playing great football, above 80% in all his games passing. I like Oregon at 5 for now. But moving to number 4 is Tennessee. Coming off a bye this week, going to Arkansas to play. Arkansas is a good team. They aren't ranked, but they are a decent team. Start off the year hot, in the first game or two. But I like Tennessee to dominate in this game like they did in that Oklahoma game. And then Tennessee in the next few weeks will be tested. They have Florida. They're all going to be at home the next 3 weeks. Florida isn't good, so I'm not looking for them to be tested in that game. But then you got Bama, then you got Kentucky. I'm looking forward to seeing what this Tennessee team is really about, even though they've been a little bit tested this year against NC State and against Oklahoma, and they dominated in those games. But Bama is definitely the test I'm looking forward to in 2 weeks. Moving to 3, Ohio State's going to stay there for me. I like what they're doing with Judkins and Henderson. Jeremiah Smith is a great freshman receiver. Will Howard, I think, is getting better every week, looking better. The defense is looking good, looking solid right now. They have Iowa this week. They're at home, and Columbus. I'm looking for them to keep rolling. And like I said a little bit ago, Ohio State travels to Oregon next week, which is one of the biggest games of the season. And just next week in general is a huge weekend in college football. So don't have any plans for that. But number 2, we're going to go with Alabama. So I'm going to put Alabama at 2. I still like Texas a little bit better. I know I'm not trying to be a Bama hater. I was a little bit, maybe at the beginning of the season, said that DeBoer and that the culture would change from Saban to DeBoer, and it does. It does, but Alabama is still playing Alabama football. It still looks great. DeBoer is a great coach for them. I think he's a great fit, actually. I wasn't sure how it was going to go. I'm honestly, like, you go from one of the best coaches, if not the best coach ever in college football, Nick Saban, to Kalen DeBoer, who has had great. He's won everywhere he's gone. But I like what he's doing at Bama. He's keeping the culture the same at Bama. It's Alabama football. It's looking good. If Texas falls to Georgia in a few weeks, then we look at moving Bama to 1. They beat Georgia. They almost lost the game. They should have kept the pedal on in the second half. But Jalen Monroe looked like the Heisman favorite in the first half of the game. And that's my Heisman pick. That's who I picked before the season. But I like what they did in the Georgia game. Ryan Williams is going to be a star of a receiver. He's only 17 years old, which is crazy. But yeah, I'm going to keep Bama at 2 now just because we got number 1, Texas. So Quinn Ewers will be back against Oklahoma. You got the Red River Showdown rivalry, whatever you want to call it. It is the Red River rivalry, but I can't say it very well. Yeah. But after that, they do have the Georgia game. So 2 big games back-to-back for Texas. They are a lot better team than Oklahoma this year. Still going to be a great game. I love this game. I love watching it every single season. But Texas gets a bye this week, and then they have that game. So, a good rest for Ewers before you go into that game. And then you have Georgia, the week after, which Georgia is going to be super hungry in that game. They're going to want to win. They're not going to be want to be a 2-loss Georgia team. That is at Texas, that Georgia game, but we'll talk about that next week. So I think it's Texas's year to lose. So that's it for the 12 and 12 today. Top 12 teams in 12 minutes. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening, whether it's on YouTube or Spotify. Please like the video, subscribe, share with everybody know, do all that good stuff for us. And then just please, like I mentioned earlier, please help us reach our goal where we want to get to these stadiums, we want to get to these games like Georgia, Texas, like Texas, Oklahoma, like Penn State, USC next week. Like there's so many games that we want to be able to get out to and talk to you guys, get better content, have fun, tailgate, do all that fun stuff. But can't do that without your guys' help. But I think that wraps it up for today. Thank you all for watching. See you next week.